Welcome to Infinite Imaginarium. Today we have Bill Ottman on, and I'm joined with the core three members of Infinite Imaginarium, Missy Nomer and Cartman One. Hey Bill, how's it going?
Hey, thanks for having me. What's up, everybody?
Hey Bill, how's it going?
Great. Many good things happening. It's exciting times.
Yeah, very exciting. Actually, I like how the new layout for the website is. It really flows better, and how things are centered and everything like that.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny the little things that have a big visual impact for people that actually don't take that long. Like those kind of UI changes were pretty minimal from an engineering point of view, but people have been responding really well to it. So one of the things that I've been really working on is trying to find the high impact, low effort tasks that really can have a big effect on people's experience of the site, because a lot of the legwork that we do, over all these months is high effort from a large scale scaling perspective, and like from behind the scenes tech for it's really important for the infrastructure of the site, but for the community it's not as apparently visible, even though it is having a really important impact. So this year we're definitely focusing on more like front end polishing and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember when I logged in, I was like, oh, it's a lot cleaner and nicer, and it kind of like flows a little bit better. And actually, just to see how's everything going, I know the crowdfunding was really good, and I'm glad to see that happen. Exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a game changer for Minds. I mean, we had a huge turnout, and it really is gonna give us the resources now to build out our development team so that we can just build all the features that everybody wants faster. We've had a very small team for the last few years and done a lot with just a very few people. So just hiring developers and getting all of the features that everybody wants built, now that can finally happen. We're really excited about that. I mean, the community really came together, and now we're a community-owned social network, which to me has been from the very beginning a goal, because that's what it's meant to be. We're all the code is open source. We think that ownership should also be collective, and at all the different levels of the company, it should operate like that. So it's huge, and I am so thankful to everybody who participated.
That is really good to hear, and it's kind of, I think, too, especially what kind of gravitated me to the side of being, open source. But not only that, how available and connecting you and John have been, especially towards me and the Minds Panel Show and the Infinite Imaginarium. That's been really big for me personally about using Minds. And it kind of goes into Missy Nomer's idea, because we had the July contest for the Minds Media with Minds Images group. And actually, Missy, you want to bring up your idea for what you wanted to do, Minds, We the People?
Oh, I have a few ideas. All right, for the entry contest, I really thought it would be interesting to do a take on the actual parchment paper and script of We the People, and add the logo and end it with ourminds.com, because I really believe it enforces the idea behind Minds. Minds is what people bring to it, really. And so We the People, ourminds.com. I really think it's a good, visually too. It's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. But by the way, Meg, thank you for the painting.
Oh, did you like it?
I love it.
Honestly,
amazing.
I've got so many things painting wise going on in the background, but some of them can kind of take a little bit longer than just sort of knocking up something, just for minds.com. I mean, I've actually got something going on for that, just a general promotional minds.com image that I've nearly finished, actually, that I will email to you when I've finished. Just something that you might want to use as a promotional thing.
Yes,
I'm
I'd love
happy to share my art, you know, freely. I'm not for any profit from it. I just think it's great that we've got this, that you've provided us with this place where we can all collaborate and connect with our ideas. It's just amazing.
I mean, that means so much. For anyone who doesn't know, and it'd be great to do like an overlay of the painting that we're talking about. I don't know if we do any like post-production to this, but Meg painted a really cool picture of me, and she's been doing like other characters on Minds, and it's just
I'm doing lots of the Minds people, you know, a lot of the original ones. But yeah, as I say, with my lifestyle and things, other projects that I've got going on, I have to kind of be super organized, which I'm not that great at being because I'm an artist. So I'm quite scattered. I'm not a linear thinker at all. I've got like about 3 different canvases on the go at the moment. And what I tend to do is I'll paint one for a bit and then I'll leave that one and then I'll go on to another one. And people say to me, why don't you just finish the one you're doing? I'm like, because my brain doesn't work like that. I just can't. And then all of a sudden, I'll just finish about 3 in one go. It'll be like, oh yeah, they're all done now. I'll just sort of do the last finishing touches to them all. So, but yeah. And also, Bill, I want to say that if there's anything that you specifically, if you have like a specific requirement, you know, you could come to me and say, is there any way that you could create something and include these elements? And I would probably, you know, I would create something out of my head. And then obviously I would show you, and it might not necessarily be something that you would be into, and I wouldn't be offended. But what I'm saying is you might just want these core points highlighted in an image form. So, you know, I would also be happy to do that, or I'll just create things randomly and pass them.
Well, that's a very kind offer. I'll probably certainly take you up on that. I love those kinds of collaborations. So thank you. Yeah, I'll follow up about that. Yeah.
Yeah, your paintings. Actually, that's kind of a interesting little topic that we could probably dwell on a little bit. But I know, Bill, I've seen some of your work. You're a pretty good artist yourself. I don't know how much time you have.
I dedicate very little, but I mean, I try to draw and paint like as much as possible, even though it hasn't been that much in the past few years. But actually, in the very early years, I mean, even before Minds.com got started, with just some of the early gatherings that we were having in Vermont, we would do these collaborative art projects. Basically, in my living room at our house, we would put a canvas down on top of the living room table, and it would just always be there. And so anyone who came through the house could participate. And we ended up with, honestly, like dozens of these huge collaborative art projects. So I need to find all those photos and start posting them more in the groups. But you know, just the principle of this collaboration and, you know, manifesting a product. So, you know, now it's become more of a tech product, but it's also media. And so, you know, that principle has remained since, you know, the very early years when we were doing more like physical art and actually event organizing. Like we would do these forums that were sort of a smash between a forum and a music festival and sort of like an open mic. This is when I was in college in Vermont. And so we would have these community gathering of the minds. And then it just sort of started, it was hard to scale that. We wanted to create this event platform for people to, you know, hold these gatherings and, you know, around any topic they wanted, but sort of fuse together art, music, and just whatever, maybe it was an activist topic, whatever it was. But we just had a hard time scaling it. And I was actually somewhat not into social media back then. I saw the dangers of Facebook and everything from the start. And so I was sort of repelled by it. But then I saw what was good about it and started to embrace it more. And then, you know, obviously the internet is is much more, you can't be anti-internet. I mean, if you're anti-internet, then to a degree you're anti-nature. But I was sort of confused back then, thinking that there was the separation between nature and technology, but ultimately it's obviously all interconnected, and nature is technology to a degree, depending on how you want to define it.
I kind of see that, you know, like Facebook and Twitter, and although they've got these major issues, they're kind of like a necessary evil for connecting and getting the message out, as much as obviously just the people that are on minds as well. I kind of feel like we would compromise ourselves if we were to turn our back completely on Facebook and those platforms at this stage, because obviously there's still a large proportion of people that use them, and we can still connect with those people and spread the word.
I completely agree. I think that we're learning from these platforms, and they're part of the process of our evolution, but you know, they need to transform to, you know, more internet freedom supporting models, or else they're going to make themselves obsolete. And so, yeah, I mean, I completely agree. You can't, turning your back completely is probably not the best idea. I think it's really important to keep pressuring them to transform. You know, it's not necessarily, the chances of Google, Facebook, Twitter going away, like this sort of the same way that MySpace did. I mean, MySpace is even, you know, it exists still, but it is a good thing if they transform, if they make their code open source, which the chances of that happening are so slim. If they start changing their ethics in regards to privacy and all these things, that's really important, because no one can deny the value of communication that they bring to the table.
For sure. I mean, much like you was anti social networking. Actually, up until I found Minds and I saw the potential of it. It was funny, I was on Pirate Radio and I told Jaffe, yeah, in my earlier years when I went more introspective and high above the clouds, whereabouts unknown, when I was kind of just doing my own thing. If you do any kind of artwork, first I kind of just wrote poetry and my other different things for myself of how I process my inner world and the outer world. But then there comes the time where you kind of need to share it. And I think for me, the valuable thing is when it connects with someone else. And this is kind of where I always keep in my own mind for Infinite Imaginarium, to tap into that collaborative creation intelligence, this creative intelligence that's in between us, that we bring each our own individual experiences, skills, passions, perceptions to the table. And when we build our relationships, it's amazing what happens through that interaction. For instance, you know, especially too in the earlier times when I would write something, Seek Gnostic will inspire him to write something, and that was my greatest reward, someone having their response back as their own inspiration of a poem or whatever. And I continue want to try to harness or fester that. And that's where I see Infinite Imaginarium as a virtual creative workspace. And actually, Missy, the last time we were hanging out, we were talking about very similar to what you were saying about your what you guys did with the canvas, the open canvas, and anybody can kind of like go in and work on that artwork. And we were saying to do something, what was it, Missy? Where we pass around the image and we keep on.
It's actually a game played in the early days by Surrealist. Like, it's a game played with a piece of paper that you fold, and each person can only see maybe like, less than half an inch of like where that lines end on the fold, and their flap is folded back, so no one can see the reveal until it's been passed around. Everyone's done their segment or section. Normally they would do like the outline of the human body, so each person knows one person ends at the neck, next person ends at the bottom of the belly button, next person, and so on. Then you unfold it and open it. But once you know the rules of the game, you can you could do it with Photoshop. You could really do Photoshop tennis is another version of it as well. But the game is called Exquisite Corpse, and you can actually wiki it.
When we had that discussion, we were talking about having these more not competitions or contests. I mean, I guess it's a competition and contest, but it's more of many people can we get in to collaborate on whatever media we're doing instead of like having one person win, I guess. The winning is to have more people participate, and how do we go about doing that? That's kind of one of our interesting ideas that we're working towards and kind of brainstorming right now. Actually, I kind of want to ask you about the status of subdomains and how is that going about?
Yeah, I mean, basically the plan right now is to get out of beta. Obviously, we've been in beta for too long. So we're just going to be doing pretty solid revamps on all of the major features. And then what he means by subdomains is that ultimately we're going to be launching a way for organizations, individuals, anyone to actually launch their own social network. So you can do you at you.minds.com, or you can even use your own custom domain name. And you essentially get your own version of Minds, and you can curate it the way that you want to. So, but we can't really go hard on that until the core product is finished. So we kind of need to polish out everything on minds.com and the core site before we can really get into launching more and more social networks, and then, you know, optionally linking those distributed social networks together. So, but we're definitely, it's on the roadmap. So, you know, hopefully around the end of the year, early next year. But the next few months, we're really just trying to get out of beta. So, but like we have big upgrades coming to monetization. We're launching a huge revenue sharing initiative. So essentially, it's a big revamp on the referral program. So people who come in through you will actually get a major cut of the revenue that they bring to the site, which I think is going to make it a lot easier for people to make money, which our focus isn't money, but I think that helping people become independent online is a huge goal. And one of the most valuable things that people have is their network. And what we think is that if you bring your network to Minds, you should be rewarded substantially for that. So that's coming. And then a huge boost revamp is coming. So there's going to be much better tracking of boosts, much more targeting like into categories. We're doing a lot of rework with categories and making categories more ever present, so you can more easily filter content and find the content that you want, and also push out to the people who like certain content. Bringing in Bitcoin stuff. We're bringing in lots of new stuff with monetization. Then we're also working on, all of this is laid out on the WeFunder. If you sort of dig in, and there's a link on the bottom which takes you to a full transparency report that we released on the SEC. We had to submit Form C to the SEC. So we essentially had to release the last 2 years of our financials, and every year we're going to be releasing our financials going forward. So I'll send you that link after this so that you can share it with everyone. People can see sort of what we've committed to in terms of new features like group chat and, you know, better video features and streaming and more monetization and XYZ. So that's sort of what's coming. And then, you know, I mean, I'm just really excited that we're becoming more and more transparent, because, you know, a lot of startups get stuck in this vicious cycle of thinking that they need to be so secretive about everything and like their financials and whatnot. But I think it's really the opposite. I think that we can be more successful by being more open. I'll look forward to sharing without you and be curious what you think about it.
Actually, that kind of leads me to this next kind of thing that it's important to bring up. For us personally as Infinite Imaginarium, and what you were saying at our own little small thing about money, and this is, you know, this kind of like cultural thing about not necessarily shame. I was listening to Douglas Rushkoff on the Team Human is actually talking about this kind of talk about money. But for us, the Infinite Imaginarium is not about making money. Money is a means to an end, and the end is for us to be able to collaborate more, to do more things, actually to make the Imaginarium infinite. And I think what you were saying is very true about being transparent. I want Infinite Imaginarium to be totally transparent of what our attention is, what we want to do, of also to being very open for anybody to come and participate and essentially play with us in the Imaginarium. And that's where we are essentially right now. And I mentioned this before we started, but about Open Collective. Even if we don't use Open Collective and we just do it in other forms, I kind of want to offload a little bit of kind of does that through platform instead of me always having to write up, our budget for the whatever, or, and me personally having to do that, or anybody else having to do that. But I think this is something that us for Infinite Imaginarium have to have more talks about, because I do feel weird in one sense to ask people for money. I'm not asking people for money, so I don't know, like, it's weird. But if anybody wants to, I have always phrases that we're getting resources, and I don't just mean like money. I actually want to focus more on resources of people's passions, people's talent, people's energy, and that's the first resource I want to come in. But funding could help create more sustainability. But I think the key, and always my main focus personally, and I want to give to the Infinite Imaginarium, is being transparent about it. So that's very important for I think moving forward.
We spoke of a couple of fun things as well, like the Infinite Imaginarium app, where maybe we could locate other people in your immediate area and do projects and collaborate. That was really fun as a concept, and then putting all the projects that we do put together, making them transparent, like with all the files separately available for other people to play with, kind of like not really a tutorial, just the ability to use it, if they wanted to.
Yeah, having our media and even the programs we use available for anybody to kind of use it, like have a repository for our media so anybody could go in there and remix. Like everything we do under the umbrella of Infinite Imaginarium is like for Creative Commons. It's actually essentially why I kept on progressing with whatever I'm doing, is to have more media to play with, more media to experiment with, more media to have fun with, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, money is a tool, and the good thing about WeFunder, as opposed to other crowdfunding platforms, and other equity crowdfunding platforms, there's other ones than WeFunder, but this only got legalized recently, and the beauty of it is that gives people an actual vested stake in whatever the project is. That is a whole other level from a regular Kickstarter, where you give someone money and you get like a t-shirt or whatever, and that's it. It's so much more powerful and incentivizing.
Yes, that's what I was
was
mentioning. We could put together different proposals on what people would like to see move forward as a project, and that would be a great way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I encourage, depending on how much energy you all have, and I know the whole corporate structure stuff is it may not be something that you want to focus on, but if you do feel like you have energy to put into that, it's worth it to do the equity crowdfunding style for raising money, because it's just much easier to get people to invest, because they can actually walk away with tangible benefit later on, and they feel connected to the result.
Yeah, that's definitely something we'll look into. It's it's like in the near future for us. Us three are pretty much the core members of Infinite Imaginarium, and we have the things that we're doing right now, but also to where we project kind of in the future for us. I view Infinite Imaginarium as first making it somewhat of a virtual creative workspace, and that's kind of why I asked about the subdomains, because I see in the near future, like when you first or asked me to kind of look in or test out the subdomain, I have no idea like what I'm gonna like. What is this? And like I don't have no need for a social networking site. Like I was like, I don't know. It's like
yeah, you kind of need to. It's a little bit daunting unless you sort of have a pre-existing community. I mean, I would be really curious your all's feedback on, you know, groups specifically. Like, what would your top requests for groups be? And you know, one really important thing we're trying to release is just a more clear voting system for what the community wants in terms of the next features, so that we can prioritize what we're doing based on what the community wants, as opposed to us just sort of guessing. So I think that voting in groups is a huge part of that. But you know, apart from that, feel free to message me what your top requests are in regards to groups, because you guys are harnessing groups really well, and you know, we want to evolve in the direction that, you know, there's demand.
Yeah, right now we're kind of using Illumio for making decisions on projects, because it has like I don't know if you're familiar with it or not.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, and so that's what we're using as a collaborative decision making, and then we're using, just because it's convenient, Google group chats to just have constant discussions. So
yeah,
I mean,
we're about to add more group chat feature to groups, actually. So there'll be two main toggles. Like, you have the newsfeed view, but then you can also go into the live chat view, and it'll just be more of like a big open chat, people in the group, where you can attach stuff and share stuff, much, you know, similar to group chats in Google or Slack or any of those kinds of apps. One of the reasons that we haven't pushed as hard in that direction on our actual messenger is because of the encryption. And you know, with the encryption, there's it's a lot more sensitive to large media files and stuff like that. One interesting release exposure about Facebook that happens, that actually when you use Facebook and share links into Facebook, or you like share a piece of media from the newsfeed into a chat, that's all public information. So this one hacker found out that in group chats, he was able to look at anybody's group chat and just see all the links that were shared in the chats. But that's because their messenger isn't encrypted. So there's sort of these compromises that you have to make, like if you want extreme privacy versus convenience in regards to sharing these features. But so that's why we're moving in the direction of, at least as a starting point, doing the group chat in groups, because it'll just all be public. Well, you can have a closed group, but it won't be hardcore encrypted to start off. I think in the future we can dig into expanding upon the messenger, the encrypted messenger, and adding in group chat and media sharing within there. But it's a bit much more of a daunting task, when at the end of the day, a lot of people are perfectly happy to have public conversations, or, you know, none of the conversations that are happening on Google or Slack or Facebook chat or that's not fully encrypted. Like, they use encryption in certain areas, but so it's like people are willing to chat in that slightly insecure way, as long as they know that is the context with which they're going into the conversation. I think that a lot of times people on Facebook and Google think that they're having truly private conversations, or, you know, secure conversations, but they're not.
I'll encourage everybody to read our messages in group chat. I want people to know what we're talking about.
Right?
It's hard to get people interested in what we're talking about. I always found it funny too when people would talk about that. For the most part, I'm pretty open with whatever I'm sharing about or my thoughts. But I was like, you know, one time someone was talking about that and emails and hacking. I was like, I kind of find it funny, like having someone read over my emails. Like, maybe they could understand some government worker like reading my, like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think it's really all about context and the principle. Now, a lot of people say, well, I don't care if I'm being spied on because I have nothing to hide. That's not the point. The point of privacy encryption is the principle. You should be making the decision about what you're sharing, and most people are pretty happy to publish stuff publicly as long as that's the context with which they're going into
because we've seen the dark side of that, right? With the Thailand 8, remember when we had that, and how they were using their group chats and people were getting prosecuted in Thailand for that, and that's
right.
Totally horrible. Actually, I want to bring in I muted you when you first came in, but Anunnaki, who I believe is I'm invited from the Infinite Imaginarium Group. If you want to unmute yourself and introduce yourself to everybody, probably a good time to bring you in if you want to. Oh, there we go.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Hello, everybody.
Hey.
I'm Amir from Bosnia.
Hey, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I will just listen if you don't mind. So.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you wanted to talk anything about minds and group or anything that you wanted to bring up to ask Bill.
No, not right now. I have some questions, but I'm kind of shy, so I'm gonna listen for a while. If you don't mind,
I have a question for Bill.
Sure. Hey.
Thank you. Save my ass.
I'll save you. Hi, it's Missy Nomer 69. Hi. I have a question.
First time caller. The question for Bill is.
Yeah, I have a question for Bill. When I first sent the link to my friends, being that I'm a photographer, mostly my network of friends is usually pulled from years and years of uploading photos to, what was it, Friendster before MySpace. Things like that, having photo galleries and lists of friends. So I know when I was sending people the invite, their first response was always, I'm not into gaming. Right? Mine's gaming, they would be thrown off by that. And I really stayed the course with Minds because I came back to it maybe a little bit later, and I noticed that it had been a lot more active, and I was really happy because I was starting to get really tired of Facebook. It was really sad. My saying that I sign a lot of things with, at the bottom it says, Friendster died, MySpace died, but Facebook is killing us, like everyone needs to migrate to Minds. But I guess my question for you is based on so being a photographer and mostly wanting to use this site for that, I've waited. I haven't really uploaded the series of photos that I have because you probably know that if you're uploading a series of pictures, you might not be compensated for each photo. You have to tag each one. Sometimes they may be missing. So I guess my question would be, as far as the photos, if you plan to move in that direction where you have more ability to manage, I guess, albums of photos or be compensated individually for that work that you put in to label each one, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Albums need work. What do you mean compensated exactly? So
what I noticed was, say I've done a series of photos on cracked porcelain. That's just one example. If I upload one photo at a time, you'll be compensated per each post. But if you want to organize them in an album, it doesn't seem to work. I haven't been able to keep an album successfully without it being deleted, removed, mislabeled, a photo comes up missing. And so I stopped because it's really frustrating. But I'd love to upload every series of and not necessarily be compensated per photo, but in a way per gallery that, you put together.
Oh, you mean with points though?
Oh yes, that is what I meant, because what I meant was I noticed that I can upload each individual photo and get points for them, but I would really love to have them be organized. And so I tend to hashtag them with my name, which seems to help a little bit. I like that.
I think I'm really glad you're bringing that up.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's really important because, one, it's going to bring us much more content, giving people a clean, organized way to upload a full batch of photos together. The bulk uploader, we we took it off the main navigation because we knew that it had problems and we didn't want to be driving people to it because it just needed too much work. That is definitely going to be a focus this year. I think that we're definitely going to fix albums this year. So I can at least say that. I would love to be able to do that too. I think, the way actually is very interesting that Instagram has done their multiple photo uploads.
I was just going to ask you about that, by the way, because I was going to confess to deleting my Facebook and still having used the Instagram. I'm going to migrate all my photos the minute you give me the ability to do it. I'm gone. I'm so
yeah,
gone.
That's awesome. I mean, one thing, Facebook owns Instagram, and Instagram is, as guilty of all the sins.
Exactly. That's why I want to get off of it as soon as possible.
But what I will give them is that Instagram is a pretty beautifully designed app. I think that the feel of it and its feature of images and how clean it is great. I mean, I actually think that there's a lot of good inspiration to come from the designers there. So
I agree I was telling Satori and Nikki about this, about just the hashtagging alone, just the fact that it's endless. It's almost endless, boundless. Networking, hashtagging, links, that part alone is really, really useful for me. I know a lot of people. We tend to share a lot of information in these groups, photographers, models, stylists, everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to give up, and I'm glad that you really appreciate the integrity of the design, because that's what I'm looking for. Like, I really hope that's the direction you go in, or something that makes it a little bit more easy to manage the albums and, just even the control of it, Well,
do you prefer, so the way that Instagram does it now is you can select a bunch of photos to upload at once, and then when it posts to the feed, people can actually swipe through those photos on the specific post.
And I don't use that option very often. Okay. And I really don't think it's that attractive. It's really stagnant. A lot of people don't want to do a stagnant swipe. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a way to upload, I think it's 5 pictures at once, or 10, I'm not sure.
It's only 5, okay.
I think it's like 5 or something, 5 or 6. But the thing is, I've used it and I still think that people don't really scroll. And what's the difference between kind of making a short clip? They have that option too. It's like a still photo type of GIF thing. So it's
you would prefer more Facebook style albums? Yes,
definitely.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay,
definitely.
That's good to know.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want that as well. I have albums that I would. That's also a great point, that if you upload an album, you should get compensated for each photo in the album, as opposed to just counting it as one post. Yeah,
right, that's
for sure.
why I was confused.
I'm on board.
The other thing was the compensation for the hashtagging, that I was under the impression that they were endless, but then I was told recently there is a cap. Is that right?
For hashtags?
Yeah, like say I tag my photos Missy No More Photos, which I do a lot on Instagram, so that if someone wants to, they can click on others and see them pull up easily. So for your site, what I've done lately a lot is I'll make a hashtag, during February, I made a playlist called Valentunes, and I hashtagged it, and almost all of them saved, but it was before people started implementing the hashtags. And I think at some point it did change the algorithm or something, where there was a cap to how many, maybe the last 20 posts by that hashtag or something.
Are you saying that when you're searching through the hashtags and you're scrolling, you only see a certain number to search? That's actually a bug.
Okay, that's what I thought.
That's not us trying to do that. So I will. That's a bug that's in the basket to get fixed. So
I've been telling people how to uniquely hashtag their content so that they can easily pull it up, identify it, share it, and.
That's really interesting. So that's your way of created a hack of creating an album that way.
Yes, I've been using social media, like I said, for a long time. I was before Friendster days. I was on a site called Fotkey.com. It's Photokey. It's FOTKI.com, and it's the most generic site. And all it is a tree directory of albums. And I needed a place to keep all my digital photos because I was a digital photographer. This was years and years ago. Then once they started making the social media sites, I started migrating. But the whole point of why I started using them was to network my friends and let them see the photos. So the hashtagging was something that I picked up on very quickly, thanks to, you know, things like Instagram, where I have to hashtag individual things, like I do Missy No More clips for video clips, Missy No More photos for photos, Missy No More books for my favorite books. Or if I make a playlist for Valentine's, I made it Valentunes, very simple. So now recently, just a second ago, someone posted a GIF on Minds of Jesus playing rock music in the sky, and I hashtagged it Jesus Christ pose. Now, if you go and click on that, you'll see why. It's not just a reference to Chris Cornell passing and rocking in the heavens. It literally has about 3 or 4 or 5 links to Chris Cornell that I posted hashtagging Jesus Christ pose that actually then populate a very, very thorough amount of content. Like, it's so organized. It's amazing. I love that. So thank you for that.
Cool. Yeah. No, thank you. I just wrote both those things down, and we'll make sure to rock that out.
Yeah, that's great. Because also too, I know when we first did 24-hour Imaginarium, we used the hashtag. I think that's when hashtags first came out with the 24-hour Imaginarium. So it was good to kind of go back and to see those. And this recent 24-hour Imaginarium, the same thing with the hashtag. But what Missy wants to do actually more with engaging the community in these kind of, let's say, collaborative contests or campaigns will definitely utilize the hashtags in the way Missy uses it for her own personal use, but for doing these collaborations and see how we could use them the best way for our own creativity.
Yeah, for example, an Imaginarium post that you posted the other day, when I reminded it with the hashtags so that it would literally pull up a bunch of stuff with it. It's just really helpful. I really love that you can do that and share things with people. And, you know, sometimes I like when someone first, you know, it's funny when you catch people arguing with each other on Minds and you just step in, and that argument happened to be whether or not hashtags even worked on Minds. Because people were commenting, all these people coming over here and hashtagging stuff, don't they know that's not how Minds work? And I would just giggle because I was like, don't they know that's how the internet will always work? I was like,
right. Yeah, you can't really control it. I mean, hashtags are very primitive right now. Some people are abusing them, which is really annoying, but we do have some work to do to sort of stop people from just mass hashtagging for the purpose of getting on trending. That is really annoying. So please don't do that if you're listening, because it just makes more work for us. But
there's got to be a way to cap that. I would hope.
we can. It's just a matter of just continuing to refine the system. So that's gonna get fixed very soon. But yeah, I mean, hashtags are really important. So we're gonna keep digging into them. I got about just 2 more minutes.
Nikki, is there anything you want to bring up?
No, I haven't really got anything specific that I want to ask Bill, or, you know, we have to keep pressing forward, and it's not going to be, you know, I think a lot of people get quite impatient on Minds, you know, when's this happening, when's that happening, and, you know, it's not a black and white process, is it? It's sometimes, you know, when you're developing things, it is often, you know, 2 steps forward and 4 steps back, and then you might suddenly take a massive leap forward because you've had to explore all these different things. So no, I haven't really got anything specific that I want to address at this stage. I think it's, from when I first joined Minds, I've seen massive, grandiose developments occurring. So I think it's...
Thank you. That means a lot. I think that I agree with you. Patience is, I mean, I get impatient too. So
Me too.
It's not just, it's not just, you know, the community who's impatient. We all, of where we want it to be, and it is getting there, and it's gonna, now that we've finished the crowdfunding round, I mean, it's going to start happening a lot faster.
Amazing.
And it's gonna change the game in terms of the pace of our development. So in July, you guys are definitely gonna see us walk the walk in that sense, and, you know, as we grow and get more open source developers involved, just contribute, you know, that's in a sense one of the most important things too, is really trying to harness the open source community and have people launching their own networks with Minds and getting the programmers and hackers of the world to embrace it and help us build it. Not only people that, you know, we have to pay to help us build, you know, because if you look at the top open source projects in the world, they have, you know, hundreds of thousands of developers who are contributing. We definitely do have some volunteer open source developers who are getting involved, and that is growing too. So between our own funding and the open source community, we're going to be moving a lot faster.
I'd like to thank you for your time, but also too, I was listening to your interview on Redacted tonight. It reminds me of two things. With Nikki had this dream one time where it was me and some of the people that were involved with the Minds panel show, and we were in this Minds bus and we're going around the country like interviewing people and like covering people. But what you were saying is about, and I think what your hesitation was to social networking before you started Minds, was that it wasn't really.
I think I know what you're getting at. It's bring it back to Earth, and, you know, have people getting together in the real world. And I mean, that's a great vision. I'll hop on that bus with you. Let's definitely, you know.
That was exactly what the dream was about, Bill. Just to confirm.
Hey, I'm gonna post a photo. I'll post a photo by next week. I used to have a bus, and, you know, we painted it and everything. So I fully see, you know, maybe not with this funding round, maybe with the next one, but that we can have a bus or multiple buses flying around the country, and, you know, people
party on.
Yeah, and just, you know, get all the art and film and media creation happening everywhere. It could be, you know, covering news, covering events, creating art. That's all great. So you'll probably get a laugh when you see my old bus.
Yeah, post the picture, because it might give me a bit of inspiration.
Yes, that could be.
Up.
Maybe that's what we're gonna go towards with this painting.
Yeah, maybe.
Cool. Well,
Thanks,
I
Phil.
think.
No, just lastly, I was going to say, Infinite Imaginarium is going to work hard on the scaling problem with your meeting of the minds. We'll figure it out somehow, Bill.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, I think that it is possible to scale. You know, look at like what Meetup has done with, you know, bringing people together in the real world. I think that Meetup.com, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, they're proprietary, and, you know, I think we can potentially do it better than they do. But what they've done, and, you know, even dating apps to a certain degree, they bring people together in 3D, which is really, really important. So I do see, you know, an events tool in our future. I don't know how soon, but I think, and that's what we were getting at with the geo filtering and the swipe on the mobile app, sort of integrating. Like, that's a good thing about dating apps. You know, judge all you want. It does help people come together and meet, and oftentimes make really good connections. So now we're seeing apps like Shaper, which is more of like it's for networking and business, but it's taking the dating app swipe model and bringing it so that people can network together and then meet up offline. So I think that all of that is hugely important, and, you know, maybe some notifications to tell you to go outside or something. I need to tell myself to go outside.
Heck yeah. Actually, it's funny. Me and Missy, I think last month, came up with this funny game. Is it nature or not? Because she was looking at something in the park, and she's like, "Oh, is that like a mushroom?" And then she looked, and it was just like, or a muffin bottom.
Oh, that reminds me of. Have you ever heard of Richard Brodigan?
No.
Oh my God, you're a poet, dude. You have to. I'm gonna send you the link. Richard Brodigan, and he wrote a book called In Watermelon Sugar, and then another book of poetry. He has poems. What is it? It's called Machines. I'm typing in the chat. Machines of Loving Grace is one, and then he does these really cool metaphors with like artificial objects which you misperceive as nature. So I mean, it's right online with what you're talking about.
Yeah. And so we were saying, well, we'll turn this into a game. And then at the end, it was like, you just wasted so much time. You need to go outside. Like right now, just go outside. Like go out into nature. But yeah, we're definitely on the same page. So thanks for hanging out with us. And it was good to catch up with you.
Cool. Yeah. Let's keep it happening. We can, let's definitely hop on the next couple months again for sure.
Hey, and I just wanted to say, you know, Bill, I was not going to ask you. It's funny. I wanted to just thank you for the platform you've given us. And I wanted to tell you how it's helped all the artists I know and the intention I have for it, and just say thank you. So like Nikki said, that was what last week I think we were talking about mostly, was we just wanted to thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Missy. Honestly, it's all of us. It's, you know, there's no network without all of us. So let's just keep it going.
Yeah. I was just going to say as well that I always say to people that it's really good if you've got somewhere where you can go to come out of the artist closet. There's a lot of people in this world exist, and they have these amazing skills as artists, or any type of artists, musicians, and they don't feel like they've got anywhere where they can show those skill sets off, or like express themselves.
Well, that's where we have
that opportunity, because people feel like they're in a safe space. I'm sorry, I didn't want to bring that term into it, but you know what I mean.
Well, it's funny because we're sort of like, you know, we have that element of like, it's free speech, so you can say what you want. So some people would perceive that as like not safe space, but most of our community perceives it as it is a safe space. Even with all the free speech, people maintain the respect. Obviously there's, you know, some trolls around, but you know, most of them are doing it in good fun. And you know, the one crazy thing that has happened is that even though we're just a fraction of the size of all the big social networks, because of the reward system and the boosting and the points and everything, it is easier for, you know, a independent artist who doesn't really have a huge social media following to get eyeballs on their stuff. I mean, because like you could go on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or Twitter and just be speaking and posting into a void for years and really never gain followers. I mean, completely. we have tons of use cases of people saying, you know, I'm having an easier time finding a community and subscribers on Minds. And so I think that that's only going to improve as we get bigger as well.
Definitely. Thanks a lot, Bill.
Thanks, everyone. Talk to you soon.